my friends, and welcome to another episode of Cary'd by the Breeze, a podcast dedicated to the voices of the future, where you'll get to be part of the most honest conversations about self-development, spirituality, and holistic health. We're here to raise the collective consciousness and provide the space for visionaries and entrepreneurs to make a positive impact on the world. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Squires, a dedicated trauma-informed coach on a mission to share her profound awakening journey. Having broken free from the perpetual fight or flight response to trauma, Vaughn embarked on a journey of healing her spiritual injuries, resulting in a reality filled with positive thoughts, a peaceful spirit, and genuine relationships. Vaughn is here to illuminate the path for your transformative process. Let's begin. Yvonne, please introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do.
Hello, everyone. I am so grateful to be here. Carrie, I am honored to be a guest on your podcast, and I love Cary'd by the Breeze. It just gives me a wonderful feeling like nothing can go wrong. Like as soon as when I'm in your presence, it's going to be carried like a breeze, you know?
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm honored to have you as well. You have such an amazing energy. I knew right away that I wanted to have you on my platform and hear more about your journey. What led you to become who you are today?
You know, it's really interesting that you say that, but I feel like I've always had a go-getter, warrior type spirit inside of me from my
Mm.
ancestors. And of course, you know, as a baby girl, you know, and people telling you do this, do that, and you say no, they're like, what do you mean no? But something inside of me, something inside of me kept crying out, no, I am going to be who I am. I do not need to be molded. I just need to be set free so that I can just explore and be myself. And so over
Oh,
the
love it.
years of, you know, trying to just hold on to my authenticity, I went through a lot of drama because the people who raised me could not see that in me yet. They could not see that. And so they wanted me to be someone else. And so there was a lot of struggle growing up, a lot of struggle. And so throughout the years, I had many lessons and blessings to consider that had made me who I am today. And they haven't all been pretty. They haven't all been wonderful experiences because that's how I grew. That's how I became me. That's how I became resilient and a self advocator is because I had to fight so much throughout my
Oh, yeah.
life, you know, for my values and things that I believed in. Um, and it's not always the same as what society would approve of, but I knew somewhere it was all going to come together at some point. If I could just live through the experiences, I would be okay. And so I suffered through a lot of trauma and I was behaving in ways that I didn't understand. Why am I behaving this way? Why
Mm.
do I allow these things to happen to my life? You know, and so I was able to go back and look at the early days of who I was to find out where I got off track and how that
Mm.
happened. And so then from there, I was able to learn how to heal my trauma and stop acting out in those trauma based responses. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like society mostly suffers from conditioning and programming from a very young age. You know, people from our parents to our siblings, our families, the government, the army, God bless it, kindergarten, school. Everybody's trying to put us in a certain mold,
Yeah.
to create a certain individual out of us to serve society better. But then along the way, we lose our own uniqueness, our own characteristics that make us so special, that make us shine our unique light upon this world. And it's such a profound journey to be able to walk through life and face all the challenges that we're facing through our trauma, through the conditioning and the programming, and realize that there is an inner calling, there is an inner voice that isn't in peace with everything that is happening, that we're not in peace with the molds that we've been structured into, that we've been put into. And this is precisely where things start changing in our lives. And that requires so much courage to be able to look at things. I can tell you from my own experience that I lived a very divided life. I had the most amazing, nurturing father who always pushed me to be independent and free and speak out my mind and be truthful. And on the other hand, my mother was abusive. She wasn't the best role model that we could have, and I was kind of torn in between. And what happened to me is that I choked down my trauma. I never spoke about anything that was going on in our household, what I was experiencing, and I had to deal with this only later in life.
Wow.
And it, like I said, it requires a lot of courage, a lot of accountability, self responsibility, the will to really change yourself. And I feel that this will, it comes from that tipping point where you realize that it's either I make peace with my suffering or I allow myself this chance to change. And I want to ask you when that moment happened for you, when you realized that I am no longer taking this. I'm done with all the expectations of everybody around me. Where did you find that inner courage and strength to really embark on this beautiful journey?
Oh, Carrie, thank you so much for number one, just sharing your experience, so eloquently put. You shared your experience, and I was resonating with everything that you said because I could feel like, yes, no, I want to break free. But to answer your question, the courage came in waves.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just one thing that says, okay, I'm
Yeah.
done here. No, I had to go through several situations, and some of
Oh,
them I even
yes.
repeated because I didn't know how to become this person that I was. I knew there was a contradiction in my thinking and my spirit. There was a
Mm-hmm.
contradiction, and they were not aligned with each other. And so I was running around like a crazy person, doing
Yes.
things that if you were an onlooker looking at my life, you would automatically say, oh, she's going downhill fast. You would say, oh, I wonder what happened to her. It was obvious I was in a crisis. But the thing I heard so much is sometimes you're falling apart so you can be put back together.
Oh, that is
And
so
that's
true.
that is what happened to me. I had to be broken down in so many little pieces so that I could let go of the struggle, so that I could let go of the crisis and the contradiction that was happening in me. I hit the bottom. I hit the bottom and I cried out to God. And I'm going to say God because that's who I know. But I know that
Yeah.
source, higher power, just some loving power
Divine
that is,
force.
some loving force that is greater than you, who only means you good. And whatever you call it is your personal choice, but it doesn't have anything to do with the ability of that power. No matter what
Yes.
you call it, that power still has the ability to save you. It still has the ability to give you clarity. And so whatever you call it, that's fine with me. But anyway, I reached out and I cried out, God, please don't let this be my life. Please, I know you didn't create me for this life. And then I was
Yes.
able to see how things just started falling in place. You know how you have those coincidences and those weird situations like, well, it was divinely appropriated.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
this
Yes.
is this is the path. And so as after that day, in my mind, I know you know about frequencies and all of that sort of thing. So in my
Mhm.
mind, I feel like the cry that night was a different frequency than the other
Mm.
cries. That cry was, help me now.
Now I'm ready.
Yes, exactly.
This is my new dawn.
Yes. And then as I think about it, back to that moment, it gives me chills and makes me a little emotional because I know in that moment that I was heard. I know in that moment,
Oh,
the universe came and changed things around. She's
wow.
ready. She's ready. Unfold the journey. She's ready. And
Oh
then
my
from there,
gosh.
in my mind, I see everyone. She's ready. She's ready. She's ready. Everyone says she's ready. And
And
then
that
it was
created the ripple effect in your life.
exactly, exactly. And that's what happened. And over the years, of course, I learned how to feel differently about myself. I was given so many
Mm,
negative impressions of who I was. And it was only because people didn't understand me that they
yeah.
labeled me unworthy. They labeled me, you know, um, never going to amount to anything. You're always going to be this way. And, as if my way was negative, as if who I was unworthy. And then as I
Yeah.
continued to break free from all of that, which was very painful, I have to say, because the ones that were feeding me this false image were people that were in authority over my life. And so,
Mm,
I had to break free from that. And earlier today, it's funny you asked me because earlier today, I was thinking, you know, I had to learn to stand on my own 2 feet, but it came with a cost. It came with a
mhm.
cost because there were some relationships that had to leave, that
That
had to
had,
go
yeah.
so that I could be my own person. So that's exactly how it happened. And I could talk to you all day about that one, but I wrote a book. So you can read the book.
We're going to talk about your book as well. But first of all, thank you so much for your vulnerability. I can, I feel you. I feel you when you speak because I resonate with everything you just said. I feel like there's some sort of unraveling that happens in this process. I like to call it the remembrance path, because literally what happens to us is we learn to forget and kind of let go, release everything that has been told to us to that day, everything we believed, and kind of dive inward, dive into our own truth, into the essence of us.
Yeah.
Who is it that I am without all this conditioning, without all these values and beliefs that has been set as a dogma, as my new paradigm? Where is my truth? Where is my voice? And it could be a very painful process because, like you said, you lose stuff along the way, mostly relationships, because people are now looking at you different.
Yes.
um, because your entire paradigm changes. You're looking at life through a different prism, and you learn to recognize what is no longer serving you, what has been causing you so much toxicity in your life thus far, what doesn't resonate with your inner voice. And I'm talking about this so much and with such passion because I love the process where people reconnect to their sacred essence, to
Oh
their
my.
spirit. I feel like our spirit is like this sacred haven. I don't know, it's like a home that you go back to, and finally everything makes sense. Everything is familiar. Like you look around and you see, all right, there are spider webs and boxes and clutter and all of that. It's my time and my responsibility now to put some order into this, to make sense out of my life, to clean house, and to
Yes.
start building upon the new foundations that are now completely me. This is me. This is who I am. And this is what I came here to do. And I find that a lot of people struggle in this process because there is a cost to it.
Yes.
First of all, it's so scary to find yourself at the pit bottom. Like you said, you had that wonderful revelation, that moment when you cried out to the skies and you felt that something, some divine energy heard you that moment because your frequency changed, because that you stood on the threshold and you said, no longer am I accepting what has been done to me thus far. I know who I am. I know who I want to be. I know where I'm going. And even if I don't, I'm ready for this journey, for this uncertainty, for stepping into this path, right?
Yes.
Without a map, without a light, without anything, but I just know, I have this knowing inside of me that I am ready. And it's such a magical moment. And I know that it does come in waves. I felt it throughout my life as well. But we repeat so many of our patterns.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
it takes a journey, a realization to break through these patterns because they're so deeply imbued into us.
Yes.
And, you know, I just, throughout our conversation, I want to inspire people who are right now at this current moment in their life aren't at peace with who they are, with how they're living. They feel that they're not aligned with their truth. I want them to gain the courage to set themselves on the way, to
Yes.
realize that this is a journey that is worth it.
So worth it.
It's so worth it because on the other side of things, you learn to be loyal to that inner voice. And when you're loyal to that inner voice, when you stop betraying yourself
Ooh,
little by little, you come back to the safest of places where everything aligns. You start attracting everything you want in life. If it's abundance, if it's romance, relationships, friends, success, anything, because you go back to your most resourceful state. So I want to ask you about the processes, not only that you went through, but also the people that you're treating today. How can you set them on the right path? How can you kind of prep them to this journey? I call it the hero's journey.
it is. It's a hero's journey. It's a warrior's journey. It is not
Yes.
for the faint of heart. It is not for the weak. I'm telling you, this journey that I have been on and that I help others embark on, the first thing I want to let them know is that there will be pain.
Yeah.
Pain is an indicator that we need to learn something new. We need to push something out and
Yes.
replace it with something new. I let them know that this is not an overnight process, that it will take time because there's so many limiting beliefs that we have to unlearn. And so, if you can
Yes.
imagine being conditioned and being domesticated, as Don Miguel Ruiz talks about in his book, The Four Agreements, it talks about how we are domesticated with a dream of those who are already here before we got here. See,
Yes.
before we got here, they were already here with our name for us, with our morals and values for us, the way we should do this, the way we should do that, and
Who we
anything
should be
who
in
we
this
should
world.
exactly who we should
Lawyer, professor, doctor.
exactly, or even just daughter and son, of
Yes.
mother and father. And so those labels were already here when we got here, and what they defined as mother and father was already here when we got here. And so when we come, these trailblazers that we are, these warriors that we are, these heroes that we are, chosen as we are, we defy all of that, and people can't seem to understand why we are different and why we don't resonate with what was already here. But because we're small and because we're inexperienced, we have to take on all of that conditioning until some point we say, wait a minute, that's not working for me anymore. Why isn't it working for me? And you might
Yes.
feel crazy at first, but I want to let you know that you are not crazy. You're just coming into your awakening. And that is scary,
Yes.
especially when the people around you haven't a clue about an awakening. So I encourage people, number one, to reach out. There's so many opportunities and a myriad of information available to us because of the internet. There are so
Yeah.
many wonderful healers and teachers and coaches like you yourself, Carrie, and like me, myself, and other people that we know that have awakened, that have gone through this process and shed that old skin that doesn't fit anymore. And we put on some new ideas and put on some new ways of thinking and a new paradigm, as you said. And now we're off to help others do the same thing. So we're here to
Yes.
help you awaken and help you take your hand and walk you through the process of finding out who you are, standing on your own 2 feet, and then thriving as this new person that you've always wanted to be. And so
Oh,
that's what I would
yes.
like to say is that there is life after trauma. It's a traumatic experience to find out that what you always believed, you don't believe anymore. What how you've
Yes.
always felt, you're feeling differently. That's a traumatic experience because you don't know why. And you have a lot of questions and very few answers. And so I would just encourage anyone not to give up because as you are ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So
Oh,
stay on this
yes.
path, stay open, and you're going to receive everything that you need for this journey. So that's what I would say. Yes.
Oh, for sure. I love what you said there. I feel like pain, suffering, fear, it's such a taboo in nowadays society to look at these things. You know, we're conditioned to be happy, shut up about it, don't cry, don't feel, don't be weak, you know, especially men grow into this
Mm,
mold of remaining strong and not showing any emotions. And I feel like nowadays, having walked through the fire myself,
mm,
I see pain and fear, and that's amazing because before that it didn't work for me like that. But through my awakening process, my mindset completely changed about these feelings, about these two conditions of pain, suffering, fear. You know, nowadays I look at them as doors
yeah,
into newfound opportunities.
yes.
Every time that in my life currently I notice something painful, something that is causing me suffering, these unsettling feelings, like something is kind of, it's not working for me. You know, you get triggered or you get scared. I'm like, this is precisely where I should stick my finger. This is where I'm going. If it scares me, I'm going to do it. If it pains me, I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to be in the same patterns where I used to avoid everything, run away from my troubles, run away from everything that was challenging me, and keeping quiet about it. You
Yeah.
know, I realized that choking down our feelings, it's the worst possible thing that we could be doing
Oh,
because we tend to our physical hurts and ailments. If you get a cut, you're like, oh, I'm gonna tend to it, I'm gonna put some ointment, I'm gonna treat it, I'm gonna clean it,
yes.
not to get it infected by any way. But what about our inner suffering? We just keep it there, festering for years and years. And this is a daily betrayal
Yeah.
of that feeling that is inside of us, trying to speak its mind, trying to teach us a lesson, trying to tell you, honey, wake up, wake up, treat me,
Yeah.
help me out. So it all starts with awareness,
Yes,
you
most definitely.
know, letting go of the avoidance and looking it in the eye. They say the first step is to admit the problem, right? It is what it is. It
Yes.
is what it is. This is precisely the chance to look at what it is that's causing us pain,
Mhm.
suffering, fear, this unsettling feeling. I learned, God bless it, throughout my journey to work with triggers. I'm going
Mm.
to share with you my excitement about triggers,
Okay, I can't
actually,
wait.
because it literally changed my life. It made
Okay.
me way more patient and
Mm.
accepting and loving towards not only myself but the environment around me.
Ooh,
Because
tell me.
nowadays when I get triggered by somebody pisses me off, somebody stirs some kind of negative emotion in me, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, Almighty, for placing that person in my life. It's my opportunity to look inside of myself, see
Mm.
where that person placed their hook on me and why they were able to kind of pull on that string that is now causing all this trouble,
I
and when
love
I
it.
look inward, I have this awareness and I ask myself, why? What is the lesson here? And it could come in a moment, and it can come in a week, or it could take some time, but the
Sure.
answer always comes. the
Always.
an- the answer is always there inside of you waiting. It's knocking on the door of your awareness, of your conscious and subconscious, and it comes up, and you get to learn something about yourself,
Yeah.
for yourself, and you realize that You're like, you can choose to be like an oiled goose. Nobody can place their hooks on you. You could live without triggers, and you
Yes,
could be in control of your own emotions. But again, it all starts with the awareness and the willingness to stop avoiding what is causing
absolutely.
us pain.
Oh
Look
my
into your
goodness.
fear, look into your pain, accept it. And this is the first step towards transformation.
Absolutely. It's the first step is always the most difficult step
Yes.
because that consciousness is telling you, no, don't do that. What are you doing? We don't want to go down that path. Are you crazy? And so then you have
Precisely.
that inner dialogue with yourself. Oh my goodness, that right there is probably the toughest decision to make,
Oh,
to
yes.
defy what your conscience is saying and take that leap of faith. Step outside of that confusion that's in your mind and take that first step towards awareness. And see, denial is the other piece. Denial is a built-in
Yes.
mechanism that we have that is always ready to jump in and save us, always ready to jump in and shelter us from the truth, or jump in and keep us from
Yeah.
making a decision that is going to take us down a path of unknownness. That denial is
Unknownness. You said
yes.
it.
And
It's just
so
a protective mechanism by the
yeah,
end of it. It's
it,
there
it
to protect us.
but it doesn't protect us. It keeps us locked in that destructive phase. It keeps us locked in that
Yeah.
low vibration energy. And so that's why that first step of awareness is so critical, and it is probably the most difficult step to take because we have to admit that something's wrong. And of course, our ego doesn't want to admit that something's wrong with us. You know what I'm saying? The ego wants
Yeah.
us to be perfect. It wants us to be right, at all times. And so to admit that something is wrong, that's a powerful admission to
Yes.
ourselves. It is definitely a powerful admission. But it's through that admission that we then say, my awareness is being drawn here. What am I needing to
Mhm.
look at? Like you said, go inside and look. It's not an easy thing to do. And we have to be taught how to look inside. We're always so look we're conditioned to look outside for the source
Yes.
of our problem and for the source of our solution, but we have to look inward for the source of the problem and the solution
Oh,
because they are
love
both
that you
in
said
here.
that.
Yeah.
Love that you said that because that's precisely what puts us in a victim's mindset because we're too busy pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Mom's to blame, dad's to blame, the government's to blame, my financial status is to blame, my
Yeah.
spouse, whatever, and it also creates the independence towards other people because they're the ones to put the band-aid on our problems.
Oh
So
yeah.
we kind of give the responsibility to somebody else to save us
Yes, our
without
power.
realizing that precisely that we're the ones to save ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I also wanted to add that, you know, it's ah I love this process because throughout it I was able to unravel so many things inside of myself. as as
Mhm.
as as much as I go inward, I learned to be at peace with who I am. I
Yeah.
learned to see that I'm only human. I don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect throughout this awareness. You need to accept that you have been hurt. You have been misled. You
Mhm.
have been acting out of survival. That mechanism that is keeping us in that safe space, it all is there to protect us because we much prefer sitting in the suffering that we know because we already know it. We know how to deal with it. We know what to expect from it other than going out there and exploring the big wide world, the uncertainty, the fear, the darkness, whatever it is. But I can tell you through my own experience, once I opened the door of fear and I switched my mindset about it and I started walking the uncertainty, my knowing has switched. And let me just
Mhm.
go back to explain because inside that comfort zone, there is the knowing of our suffering. We know what it is, we know
Yeah.
how to deal with it, we know what it
Uh-huh.
costs thus far.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
as we walk to the uncertain part of things, there is a different kind of knowing. That is the inner confidence that I have myself every step of the way. And I
Okay.
also have the divine that sees me in my power and that is there to push me and to put the breeze under my wings, to blow the wind into my sails, to set me on the way. That is a different kind of knowing. And this is
Yes.
something that I love in this journey because I'm way more confident nowadays. I
Yes.
feel that I am finally aligned and I am protected by the
Woo!
dark, by
Yes.
the
Oh my
uncertainty,
goodness. That
by
is,
the mystery. I feel comfortable in the uncomfortable, you
yes.
know?
Finally, right?
Yeah, and that what makes life such a big adventure. Nowadays I'm like, this is an adventure. Let me see what's up. Let me see what's hiding in that darkness I'm so scared of. Let it unravel. Let it show.
I always have the idea that my best, my most authentic self
Mhm.
is on the other side of the fear.
Oh,
It's on the other
yes.
side of the fear because as I'm walking through the fear, I become that person on the other side. And so, what
Yes.
I'm learning to do in my life is when I feel fearful, I have to find out what action can I take. There's an action that needs to take place. I'm learning
Yes.
how to understand the energies that come. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by
Yeah.
that is it's like a flow chart, and you may have a triangle, or you may have a square, or you may have a circle, and each one of them requires something differently. And so the triangle is a particular energy that's moving me in some direction. The square could mean, okay, slow down and stop. The circle could mean reach out and get involved. But I have to know for myself through that energy that I connect with, right? What is called for? What is called for? And that's the divine knowing. That's the divine
Yes.
knowing that sends me into the darkness every time because I am equipped and I am prepared to walk that path. Do you see what I'm saying? I
Yes.
am prepared. My faith prepares me. My trust in the process, my trust in who I am now, my trust in my purposes, those kinds of things propel me into the darkness. And like you said, I feel comfortable there too. Because I know I'm protected and because I know my path is already set for me. All I need to do is walk it. That's all I need to do. So, yeah, that was really
Yes.
awesome what you said.
I want to touch upon we're speaking about the darkness and the unraveling of things. And you mentioned before the the moment where everything started collapsing around you, right? The moment when you realized, okay, things are starting to change. Some people are calling it the dark night of the soul, which I find very beautiful and poetic. Every time I say it, I'm like, oh, that's
Sure.
um I felt it in my awakening process that the matrix of my life was breaking around me, like I was unplugged and I
Yeah. Oh,
wake up
yeah.
in this hell of a city. I don't know what to do, where to go. um and we've been talking about the strength and the courage and the resilience you need to have in that process. And I feel like there are plenty other challenges that people are facing inside that darkness. First of all, there's this self comparison to other people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm at this point in my life. What did I do wrong? I'm not worthy. I'm not whole. I'm missing something. I'm lacking. I'm broken. Basically, I am broken and unworthy. Um, and from there comes the most terrible voice of all, the voice of self judgment,
Mhm.
through which is so hard to start with the the little other processes that are involved in this new awakening. So how can we address that self judgment people have in that
Sure,
path?
sure. That's a different type of darkness. That's not the darkness I want to be comfortable in. But that is a darkness that propels us forward. It's the darkness that brings the angst. It's the darkness that says I can't take another moment of this self-doubt. I can't take another moment
Yeah.
of this unworthiness feeling, and some people succumb to that and take their lives, sadly
Yeah.
enough. But the ones who can make it through it are the ones that have something special. And so, what I want to say to anyone out there who is comparing themselves to another person, that is negative conditioning. There is
Yes.
no one like you. You are an apple in a field of oranges. You are a beautiful flower in the field of weeds. You
Hmm.
are nothing like anything else around you. You are unique. There's there's more to your uniqueness than just your fingerprints, than just your teeth. Your whole entire being is unique, like the stars and the snowflakes. There are never more than one of the same. And that's how we are. We are put here to bring something that only we can bring because it was
Yes.
only given to us. And what I bring is totally different than what you bring. There may be some similarities, but the place that I came from and the place that you came from, they're different places, even though we may have had some of the same
Yes.
interactions with the same energy. Our experiences were different. So there's no way that I can compare myself to Carrie. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you can
Yes.
compare yourself to me because we are each charged with our own identity. We are each charged with our own set of strengths, our own set of tools and talents. We each have that. And if I was not here, and I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but this is the way we need to think about ourselves. If we were not here, the world would be missing something very important, something
Precisely.
essential to its survival if we were not here. Because not only do we come with a special purpose, we are connected to others with their special purposes. It's like a web across the whole
Yes.
entire
Yes. Yes.
universe of our energies connecting. And so if we were not here, we would not be able to provide that to the connection. And if there was another something just like you, well, then you wouldn't be necessary because there was already one of you. You understand what I'm saying? So you do not
Yes.
compare yourself to others because it is not a true comparison. Because when I compare myself to you, I can only compare myself to your outside, to what my
Precisely.
eyes see. And my eyes can deceive me based on what I'm thinking about myself. So if I'm
Yes.
thinking I am unworthy, when I see you in all your glory, it's just going to make me feel even more unworthy. And now I'm going to resent you. And now I'm not going to like you because guess what? I resent the fact that I can't be myself. I can't shine like you shine.
Oh,
You see what I mean? And so
yes,
I'm
that
just
is
so grateful
beautiful.
that you asked me about that. Please, people, do not compare. You cannot be compared to anyone else. You are brilliant. You are magnificent. And there's something so special about you that God only made one of you. And there was this world couldn't handle more than one of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for it. It's such an important message to carry out because I feel that a lot of people get lost precisely in that and these feelings of self-shame, you know? And for me, it was such a long journey to find my own self-worth, to finally step into my power because through my comparison towards other people, and throughout my life, I worked with the most amazing professionals. So I always had a role model, somebody to compare myself to. It just put me stumbling in the same place.
Sure.
And again, that voice of self-judgment was so adamant in my mind up until the point where I realized that I have my own unique voice in this divine orchestra of the collective, you know. Um, but that leads me to another question about self-compassion. A lot of what we're talking about has to do with forgiveness,
Mm,
but I know that we cannot forgive the world around us and everybody who hurt us without forgiving ourselves. And I know that you're a wonderful advocate for self forgiveness and for forgiveness in general. So let's talk about that as well.
Forgiveness is not very easy. It's not an
Oh,
easy act because
for
you have to
sure.
consciously agree with yourself, right? To
Yeah.
offer favor to someone when you know they don't deserve.
Yes.
But what I had to understand, which it's kind of like an oxymoron in a way, what I had to understand is that the forgiveness that I'm offering to someone else, right, is for me to get better. Because when I
Mm.
find that I have unforgiveness, it's like having a bag. And each time I get upset and whoop, pop into the bag, pop into the bag. You know, I didn't get the job I wanted. Now I'm angry. Now I'm resentful. Pop it in the bag. Oh my God, I just gained 10 pounds. How the world could I do that? Now I keep eating these potato chips and cookies. Pop it in the bag. Because see, all of these things need forgiveness. Not only just the things that were done to me, right? Some of the things I did to myself, and so I have to learn to forgive myself as well. Because, see, I used
Yes.
to think that, oh, I'm not forgiving her. They don't deserve my forgiveness. But then when I understood that my forgiveness was about me, then I have to say, do
Mm.
I deserve to be free from that bag of
Ah,
rocks that I'm carrying on my back? Do I deserve
yes.
to be free? Do I deserve to be cleared out from all of that negative energy of unforgiveness? And so I had to reach deep down inside and say, you know what? I have to forgive if I want to get better. And it did start with me. It's but I had to forgive myself for not being perfect because that's who I thought I was supposed to be. I had to
Yeah.
forgive myself, for so many things that were holding me back. Once I was able to understand that forgiveness is the gateway to moving forward. It's like the doors are closed until you forgive, and then when you forgive, they open up and they let you in, they let you pass. And so it was through the forgiveness that I was able to receive God's grace, right? I was able to receive his grace for my path. Once I once I invested into the path, then it was given back to me. That gift that for so in my mind it's like for that rough tough thing that you do, there is always a reciprocal gift that you will receive by letting go of something that didn't serve you. So when I
Mm.
let go of the unforgiveness that was not serving me, and I grabbed for the forgiveness for me and those around me, my life began to bloom. I began to see things from a different perspective. I started having more peace in my spirit. I was able to sleep at night and not have to pace the floor angry about something that happened. I was able to make peace with myself. And once I was able to do it once, then I just went down the line and just started forgiving people who just, you know what I'm saying, that were
Yeah.
holding me back. And so that's the thing I want people to understand. The forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person because the other person is gone
Precisely.
sleeping like a baby, and I'm over here pacing the
Yeah.
floor, so I deserve to sleep like a baby too. So I have to let go of that forgiveness or that unforgiveness so that I can have some peace inside. Hmm.
I also feel that without the forgiveness, we're kind of living through the prism of our past. And if we're stuck in that timeline, where's the progress? How can we be focused on the future or live the now that is right here beneath our feet and that demands our focus, our attention? And I feel like most of us are running away from the now, which is it's a hard thing to do, to live in the now. We're constantly preoccupied. We're bothered by our past, by the trauma, by the bag of rocks, like you said, that we're carrying on our back. So that is the prism of the past. There's also the fear of the future and the uncertainty. So we're kind of like this house without an owner, that is kind of being carried throughout space, but the owner is somewhere in a different place, where either our mind is in the future or our mind is in the past. So we're not inside our bodies. Um, do you have anything to say about the power of being present in the now? How
Oh,
can it affect people to put their focus on precisely the moment, the time, the exactly what they're facing right now?
the way I look at it, I see the past as an illusion. It's
Mm,
only in my mind. It's nothing I can touch. I can't go
yeah.
back to yesterday and have a seat in my house. I
Yeah.
can't go back to last week and drive my car. It's only in my mind that
Yeah.
yesterday lives. And so when I understand that choice that I have to stay in today, see, when I wake up in the morning and my mind is trying to remind me of something that happened yesterday, then that's when I have to take my private time and maybe journal out what it's trying to show me.
Mm.
I don't discard it totally, because it's like, why are you trying to show me that? Why are you trying to connect me to something that happened yesterday? So look at, is there any merit to this? No, no merit. I choose to leave it where it was. And then I choose to move forward into this day. So, what I like to do is have something that grounds me first thing in the morning,
Mm.
something spiritual, usually, because when my spirit is in a peaceful, accepting place, I don't have to be angry about the past anymore because I have forgiven it. And so
Yes.
when my spirit is connected to, my purpose, then I don't have to be afraid of the future, because I already know my purpose is divine. And as long as I follow
Oh,
it, I'm going to be led into a beautiful place,
I love
and then I
it.
just trust. I trust that everything that I have been through to make me who I am today is enough for today, because this is the only day that I can really make any changes. I can't make any changes about yesterday, which is an illusion, right? And I can't make any changes about the future, which is a fantasy, right? But if I stay in the present, I can really make some changes. I can really enact something and make it worthwhile in today. This is the only thing that today is the only place that I can make my life better. I can't make it better
Yes.
in those other places. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yes, of course, Bivon. Thank you so much. What kind of advice you can give to people that are now listening to us on how they can start grounding themselves and raising some awareness today? What can they be doing right now?
Okay, so my daily
Mm-hmm.
routine is grounding myself. I am in this day. Today is February the 28th. I'm in my home. I am fine. What am I going to do today? I am going to allow myself, right, to move through this day as I am led. Obviously, if you have responsibilities, we have those things that we can check off, right? Uh, Feed the dog, put gas in the car, go grocery shopping, whatever your list is. But you can do it in a way that says, I am going to be open and receptive to all things great that are coming into my life today.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, God or universe, for creating a space that I can thrive. Thank you for using me as a conduit. See, when I realize that my whole purpose here is there's a reason for me, when I saturate myself in that reason, I tell you what, the energy that you feel is through the roof. You're going to
Yes.
be grounded because you're grounded in your purpose. When you feel like you're veering off to the left, think about what your purpose is. Where are you supposed to be right now? What are you supposed to be doing right now? Are you where you're supposed to be? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Okay, well, then get where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to be doing. And then that will ground you for that moment. Because sometimes it's moment by moment, sometimes it's hour by hour, depending on what your mental status is when you wake up. Some people have to work harder than others to get grounded and centered for the day. And it's okay
Yes.
if you have to go back and reground and recenter as many times as you need to throughout the day. That is your process and it belongs to you. So take the time to nurture you, to give you what you need so that you can move forward throughout the day. So that's what I do. Mm.
Oh, that's amazing. Bivon, thank you so much. You're so wise. I love learning from you and sharing our experiences together. I would like to share with our audiences, first of all, tell us a little bit about your book and about what it is you're offering to the world. I want people to be able to connect with you and
Oh, thank
really
you so
enjoy your
much.
wisdom.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Well, I was given this book and it's called, I don't know if you can see it, but it's called The Energy Harvest, a
Ooh,
spiritual model for the enhancement of your life. You can find it on Amazon and you can also find it on my website, which is www.spiritsourceconnection.com. I help people learn about trauma. I help give people hope for a new, brighter future. I help you to understand that the labels that they put on you, they don't belong to you. Take those labels off because you already came here
take them
as a
off.
chosen. That's your label, chosen. Anything other than that does not belong to you.
Oh, love it.
And so, through my podcast, The Healing Train, I love that podcast that I was given because it allows ordinary people just like you and I to come and talk about our extraordinary process, our extraordinary journey from trauma to triumph. It helps us to understand that yes, there will be struggles, but they can lead you to success. And
Yes.
everyone has to go down this path, the trauma, the triumph, the struggle to success. But we show you what is possible on that particular podcast. And I'm just loving it. I love being a beacon of hope for other people who may have traveled
Oh,
my journey because, I want them to know that life can be beautiful. Life can be everything that you dreamed it could be. And if you have struggles and you can't get there for yourself, there are many people like Cary'd that can help you, like myself that can help you, and other people that can help you get through your crisis or process, whatever's going on. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then on Willingness Wednesdays, I talk about what are you willing to do to take your life to a new level. What are you willing to do once you
mm,
get all of this stuff cleared out and once you've gotten all that forgiveness taken care of? Now, what are you going to do with your life? And so I give
yes.
people just opportunities to see what's available because I know when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of images that I could look out on that were
Hmm.
positively affect my life. And so now that I'm in a position uh, to share, see, I'm not afraid to tell people where I came from. I was broken, but I'm not anymore. And so if it can happen for me, it can happen for you as well. And so that's my message that yes, if it happened for me, it can happen for you. It will take work, but the work is so worth it. And you are
Yes.
worth it as well. So that's the message that I have for
Oh, Bivon, you are an incredible woman. Thank you so, so much. I loved listening to you. I loved sharing in your wisdom. You are truly inspiring. I
thank you.
loved having you today on Carried by the Breeze. I hope to have you here again to share more of your vision and your mission. Thank you so much for being here. I am
Absolutely.
really
Thank
honored.
you. I am humbled to be here. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story with your audience. And yes, I'll come back whenever you want me to. And then
Oh,
next
for
you'll come to
sure.
mine and speak to my community next.
And all the listeners right now, I'm going to put Bivon's links everywhere underneath this post so you can go check her content out. She's truly an inspiring individual. I've learned so much through her and with her just by following her content. So hop on the healing train and let's make some magic happen. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.